Oh, we're going. And we're here. And I don't see any reason why you and I should not be talking about Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2. Do you agree?
I agree wholeheartedly, man.
Well, then let's not dick around. Let's get right to it. So we're here with episode 16, and my special guest this evening is all the way from a different time zone.
Yeah.
So we got Eric here from Hey Internet. Eric here. Welcome to the show. Thank you for agreeing to do this, and it's always cool to shoot the shit with people about horror and get to broaden the community out. So thanks for joining.
Hey, man, it's my pleasure. We've been connecting for less than 3 weeks,
Something like that.
And it was really exciting because first off, again, like you said, I just like to shoot the shit about movies, whether it's horror or not. But I like to shoot the shit. And then I watched a couple of your videos, and you're one of those guys that's down to earth. You say what you want to say, but you also know your stuff too. And then when you asked me to be a guest, I'm like, okay, sure. What do you want to do? And then you threw out what we're going to talk about tonight, and I was very excited.
Yeah,
very excited.
Yeah, it's not everybody that's willing to talk about Rob Zombie movies. It's not. I mean, as I sort of move, over the past few months, sort of shifting into this community, you find more and more people, but on the street and amongst your friends, I honestly, within my own friends, don't have that many horror fans, one or two, and I've had them on the show and, I have them recurring, so on and so forth. But by and large, to find somebody who's seen a lot of Rob Zombie fans, at least in my, who's seen a lot of Rob Zombie movies, it doesn't happen too much for me. So this is just an awesome experience.
Well, this is fun because in my little, I guess you would say, community, I know a lot of horror fans. Okay. And they have seen a lot of Rob Zombie movies, but it's kind of the same situation like you, but a little different. It's hard to find people that actually like Rob Zombie movies. So that's why I don't know your take on his other films, but that's why I'm excited at least about tonight, because I know how you feel.
I've enjoyed. If there's a Rob Zombie movie out, I'm going to do everything in my power to get to see it. Going back to House of a Thousand Corpses, and I saw that episode that you had where your friend wasn't quite as enthused as I would have hoped for. But that's cool. Everybody's got their own takes and so on and so forth. So you got to respect that. But then Rejects and Three from Hell, I wasn't exactly crazy about, but Lords of Salem. So yeah, I mean, any opportunity to see some Rob Zombie, I'm down.
31 is a favorite of mine too.
Okay, I'm going to admit I haven't gotten to that yet.
The easy way, without saying anything spoilerish, is just basically take the Schwarzenegger movie, The Running Man, and have it written by Rob Zombie.
Oh well, then I definitely got to get to that like yesterday. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. We got some comments here. Please don't. Why would we yell at you? I don't. I don't get that. We're not going to yell. We're not going to yell at anybody. I'm not a yelling type person. I don't think Eric here is a yeller either.
No, sir. No, sir.
So this is not Carpenter's movie.
Correct.
It is and is not in, I mean, it is in a surface sort of way. But within once you start to, get beneath the surface, this is not Carpenter's movie at all. Carpenter's Michael Myers, I mean, even in the credits, he's credited as The Shape. It's this, faceless sort of force of evil that is just sort of projected out into a community one night, after escaping from a a psychiatric hospital, for most of his life, and then he has one night, to sort of howl. This is not that.
No.
I spent 17 years, and I think I had talked about this in one of the tags. I spent 17 years working with at-risk children.
Okay.
And I stopped that some time ago. I do something else now. But I, from 94 to 2011, essentially spent time working with abused and neglected children. And I actually showed this movie to a hippie friend of mine who would never watch a Rob Zombie movie if you paid him.
Okay.
But I said, watch this. And we're talking about the first movie now. And I said, watch this and tell me what you think. And he was he said it was spot on. So we're talking about, Halloween 1, Halloween 2. Not your Carpenter flicks.
Yeah. And there was something I read, and Rob himself was kind of apprehensive on taking up, the mantle of, first off, remaking Halloween, because he knew that's a huge mountain to climb, because the horror fans in general are passionate about what they love, and it's kind of like Halloween is their baby. Yeah. So he had that against him as well. So he actually, I don't know if it was just a phone call or a meeting or something, and basically the only thing, like, John Carpenter gave him his blessing, but then he also said, make it your own. And he sure did.
He did. This is a story of let's start off with the Michael Myers character. Michael Myers is just this profoundly, it starts out, he's probably about 11 years old, and he's already just profoundly broken. He is living in a house where, and this is what I thought about it, this is what I thought was spot on. I mean, not the serial killer part, or the 6'7" WWE serial killers. No, that's not what there was agreement on. But that he is just this systematically abused boy, living at home with a mother who's a stripper. He's just got a horrific family life. Mom has shacked up with the biggest POS, who is played to perfection. I think this is a very underrated performance by William Forsythe.
Oh God, yeah,
as Ronnie White.
I loved him in The Devil's Rejects. You know that.
Yeah.
So I was very excited to know he would at least have a part in this. But man, what a 180 he was from that performance to this. Like, he has his scary moments in Devil's Rejects, but I think he's truly terrifying in this. And he's only in sprinkled out in the beginning for maybe a total of, if that, of screen time. Yeah.
Maybe 20 minutes. But you see that beginning with him, and I guess we'll expand out into that in a little bit. He's just this horrible man that is living with Michael's mother, incessantly bullies Michael, probably hits him. Although at the time that we meet him in the movie, he's all banged up and, he's in a cast, and, he's clearly just living off of her money.
Yeah, I heard that the reason why, to go a little bit in your, how he probably abuses Michael. I mean, he obviously verbally abuses him. I mean, he talks shit about Michael to Michael's mom. He doesn't care. Yeah. But he's got his arm in a cast, he's got his leg in a cast, and he's got a finger splint. And I've read that there was going to be scenes shot that the reason why he's broken up is because he was chasing Michael to beat him, and he fell. He was drunk, obviously, because you can tell he's a drunk. He fell into the swimming pool that wasn't full. So that's just adds to it, that the reason why he's hurt is because he was going to abuse Michael some more. It was just never filmed.
He's just as horrible a person as you can imagine. He's trying to sleep with the daughter, Michael Myers' sister. He's telling Michael Myers' mother that he is attracted to, he's talking about her ass, You know, right to her face. He's talking to this woman. You know, it's just unbelievable, unbelievable. This guy, really bad. The sister, just really seems, you know, there's nothing there. She seems a little on the cruel side, dismissive at best. You know, inappropriately bullying, you know, at the worst. But I mean, she just fits in perfectly with this system that's going on at the house. Sheri Moon Zombie.
It's pure chaos. Pure chaos.
Yeah, I mean, he's William Forsythe is swiping an entire dinner table full, a breakfast table full of food onto the floor, and first thing in the morning, screaming at Sheri Moon Zombie to clean it up. So yeah, you're right. It's absolute bedlam. And by the time we start to meet Michael Myers, he's already killing small animals, which is, so you can see that this, you know, frustration and rage is already started to be directed outward. And killing animals, killing small animals that is a major red flag. Yeah, bad stuff.
And that's what, you know, it might sound bad that I say that I like that, but the reason why I say that is with John Carpenter's original, and, you know, like we said, he's the shape, he's this unstoppable force. There's no explanation until we get into like the sequels and stuff like that. You know, after like 8 movies, you know, the fact that he's unstoppable, that kind of got played out. So I like how Rob went this realistic route when it came to Michael and why he ended up doing the things he did. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just, it makes perfect sense that, you know, a person under this much pressure is eventually going to explode. And this child is slowly giving off signs, but everybody is so profoundly fucked up that they don't notice. They don't notice. The mom, she's busy trying to raise the family because she's also got, you know, the little infant as well. Yeah, and the young fellow who plays him, I think his name is Dark Fiash. I can't pronounce it correctly.
Yeah, it's French. I know that. I mean, I don't know if he's French, but he used to live in France for a while, so I don't know how to pronounce it.
I've only ever seen him one other time, and it was in that movie Hancock.
I've seen that, and then I saw him. Oh, it's maybe 2018, 2019. He was in a movie called Josie with the girl from one of the girls from Game of Thrones. She was also in the newer X-Men movies. She played Jean Grey.
Oh, Sophie Turner.
Yes, he was in that, and he was probably around 21, 22. Okay. Very skinny, hard to recognize him. He's all tattooed up and everything.
Okay. Okay. Well, he started out young with Rob Zombie, so you know, he's Michael Myers, so that's no shock there. Nope. But I mean, you look at the photo, and he's got dirty clothes. His coat is filthy. He looks like he hasn't had a shower in, you know, who knows how long. You know, just he's being horrifically bullied at school, because the children just bully him horrifically because his mother is a stripper. And then, you know, I think the very same day, maybe, the killing starts. They give you about a 1-day look into what his life is like at the point where they start to introduce Sam Loomis, played by Malcolm McDowell, who is not Donald Pleasance. Correct. Not at all. He's not Donald Pleasance at all. Question for you. Do you think that Loomis, do you think Loomis in the first movie is a douche? There's different stages of Loomis in this first movie. If you want to, I think at the beginning, because he also kind of looks like down on his luck. He's not taking care of the way he's dressed, his hair, anything. So I'm thinking maybe he doesn't care. Okay. But one of the things, like I wrote down, like in my little notes, is I think as the asylum stuff goes on,
I think he truly does start to care for Michael, at least when Michael's still a child. Yeah. Because there are times like at least in the director's cut, there are times when Michael's breaking down and you see Loomis actually hugging the kid and stuff like that. So I truly do think as time went on, he did grow to love Michael and care about Michael. And then that's why it's a really believable scene when, everyone, was it 15 years later or whatever it is. Yeah. And Loomis is looking directly at adult Michael now, and he's telling him, I can't be your doctor anymore. Yeah. I truly believe that in Malcolm McDowell's performance, he's like, I don't want to stop helping you, but there really is nothing I can do. He
hasn't spoken a word in 15 years.
Mm-hmm. So in the beginning, I think he was just taking it as a job, but as time and the years went on, I think he truly did care for Michael and really did want to help him.
Yeah. The early, let's just backtrack just a quick second. Hold on. Here we go. Triple feature. He was a perfect storm to become a serial killer. You seem to mix a psychopath with abuse, dysfunction, etc., and you create a monster. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wait, hold on. He also showed up in the Netflix comedy American Vandal. Okay, I haven't seen that, so maybe I'll have to check it out. But the early introduction also of the mask. Mm-hmm. I didn't think that was. I thought that was actually scary because the mask, to me, and this was another thing that I showed to some of my friends who worked in that field. Mm-hmm. That ability to sort of dehumanize yourself. Mm-hmm. He's already retreating. Behind. Right. This thing. It's not something that he. And I think when he kills that boy. When he bludgeons him to death, I think when he finally does those final blows to the head, he puts that mask on, which means, he's sort of retreating within himself, and maybe there's nothing there, I think in a sense.
And that's a perfect way to put it. It was goofy how the mask was initially introduced to the movie. It was when his sister and the boyfriend were getting busy. But I'll tell you what, when Michael lets loose, even young Michael, he's so sadistic, and it's, I'll tell you, you said it's creepy. It's super creepy. Like seeing little Dag, or however you pronounce his name, the young actor, he's in his clown suit, the Howling costume, but he's got the Myers mask. So you have someone who's maybe 5 feet tall. Yeah. Going after his sister with this knife. Yeah. And that is a terrifying image.
Yeah.
And it's it's a little kid, so it's already, but he's wearing this adult mask, so it's so off-putting.
Yeah, it's very, and the mask is too big for him. Mm-hmm. When he first shows up at the bed, at his sister's bed, and it's this little, it's like a little gnome or a gremlin or something like that, But he's got this butcher knife in his hand. Mm-hmm. He's already bludgeoned to death the boyfriend with a baseball bat.
God, yeah.
And this isn't like your silent Michael Myers. Zombie was looking for someone who is just going ballistic.
He wanted brutality, and he got it.
Yeah, someone who's just exploding, this force of nature, that's just erupting out, and, showing everyone, his anger, at the world.
Yeah, and this is just my opinion, at least with this first movie, because we don't see too much of young Michael in the second one. But I personally think Michael is more brutal when he's a child in this, with the murders. When he beats that bully to death in the woods, which is that giant log. Yeah. And also with the way Rob films it, with the close-up shots, and then looking at at the sky and it's spinning around. But then when he kills the boyfriend, it's even more worse for me, because he's using not just a baseball bat, it's aluminum. So he hits the boyfriend, and he falls down, and of course, I don't know if it's a nod to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We see the feet twitching a little bit. Okay. But then Michael, he's repeatedly hitting him with the bat. Yeah. And you hear Michael grunting. Yeah. Yeah. And then what really gets it is, I'm a visual and a sound guy, like colors and sounds are what gets to me. after Michael's done, the last thing we hear before he goes upstairs to his sister is we just hear him drop that aluminum bat on the ground. He's done with his work, and it's really powerful. You know, no pun intended. It's a really powerful scene.
Yeah, yeah. It's not this, like you said. It's just it's pure rage, which they start to address a little bit in the second movie. And I'm thinking off the top of my head, for some reason that brings me back to Alien and Ash, when they revive Ash after they, decapitate him. And he said he admires the alien's purity.
Yep.
It's just pure rage. All these people have wronged me, and they're all going to suffer.
Yep.
They're all going to fall before me. And there's nothing any of them can do about it. And in a way, you don't understand why, like you said before, you don't understand why in Carpenter's movie Michael kills his sister, and it's only the sister,
right?
Here he just clears house with the exception of his mother and the baby,
right?
Here we go, another comment here. One of the reasons this slasher is so good is because it's truly brutal. The killings are not just stabbings. It's very true. They are murders filled with obvious rage. He's slicing his sister, going down that hallway.
Yeah.
Rough stuff.
And I think the newscaster said she was stabbed 17 times.
Yeah. So we get him to the hospital. He's now under Dr. Loomis's care. But the idea that the masks start to become more prominent now. He wants to wear a mask all the time. He's creating masks that are black, which, I think it wasn't really a coincidence that Loomis explains to him that on the color spectrum, it's the absence of light. There's no light. The light, what little light that there is just slowly being snuffed out. But now the institutionalism begins. Now he's just trapped behind walls. And then, of course, there's Sybil Danning.
Yeah, it's man, that scene was brutal too.
It was a spoon, isn't it?
Yeah, he gets her with a fork.
Is it a fork? He just drives that right into her neck. And
here's another thing I want to talk about Rob's filmmaking. Is I mentioned this when me and my buddy talked Devil's Rejects. It's the scene when Forsythe has captured the Firefly family. He's driving them back home to torture them. It's this intense moment, but all you hear is the score. Forsythe is yelling at him and everything, but you don't hear anything. That's what I love about this scene. Because first off, oh God, how awful is she? Mom, Loomis has taken Mom away, walk her to the car, and then the nurse looks at a picture that Mom brought of Michael with the little baby.
Angel.
And this nurse, the nurse looks at, what a cute baby. Couldn't be related to you. And Jesus Christ. So then you see Michael grab this fork, and then after he stabs her, and the orderlies are running, and Loomis and Mrs. Myers, they come out of the elevator and they're yelling, what happened? But once they walk into that room, it's nothing but the emergency siren.
Yeah.
And my God, that's such a great touch because you see Loomis yelling for Michael, Mrs. Myers, she's screaming at the top of her lungs, and everyone else is grabbing Michael, get away, and it's nothing but that siren. Yeah. And I think that's one of Rob's signature touches. There's another signature I want to bring up when we get to Halloween 2 that I love, but it's just one thing that it makes the intensity for me more and more important, more potent. Just the lack of dialogue.
Yeah,
and it's just again, it's a powerful scene. And then we talked about the masks. He's just standing there, holding that bloody fork, just looking at his work, and he doesn't even move a muscle until the mask is taken off. And that's when he flips out on everybody. I think it's his mom that takes the mask off, and he snaps at her. I don't know if he tries to bite her or if he's just yelling, but it's gone.
Well, I think the guards get to him first.
Okay.
And in the theatrical version, I have the theatrical version, and that's interesting that you bring that up because in the theatrical version, she doesn't say couldn't be related to you. She just says cute baby.
Ah, yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, that's interesting.
So he might have. he might not have done anything until she literally says, cute baby. And then she gives him that, like, F you look like, ugh,
sort of smirking, yeah.
Yeah. And then she couldn't be related to you. And then she goes back and reading her paper. And then you see Michael just hand over the fork.
Okay. So, I mean, that's pretty much the end of any sort of attempt at, rehabilitation. You understand that he's just all the way gone, which isn't a surprise. But I mean, they've probably spent 30 minutes of the movie, prepping you for what is, his background and, kind of why they spend a good, 25% of the movie, going into his background and why he is this way. And there's this recurring theme of surrogate fathers, in his life. And, for one reason or another, they fail. Either they're just scumbags like Forsyth, or they're just unable to reach him like Malcolm McDowell. There's even a couple of other people, which I'll get into in a minute. I'm sorry. Did you want to get in there?
Yeah. Well, yeah. All I was going to say is, because I don't know if they said it in your cut, but I think you're right. There is no father figure, because I think when Judith is with her boyfriend and they're shit talking Ronnie, William Forsythe, she's like, "That's not my dad. My dad's in heaven." So, and obviously it's recent, within the last year or so, because I guarantee you, little Angel is not William Forsythe's kid.
Yeah.
It's a regular Myers child, but so that explains a lot. There's no positive male figure in the lives of this household. It's nothing but chaos and garbage.
And let me tell you from experience, working in the field, young boys and young men do not respond favorably to male authority figures when there's no father figure in the house. They're extremely resentful, resistant, hostile, and certainly Ronnie White gave them no reason to think otherwise. Hold on, we got a couple more comments in here. Wait, what is this? Triple feature. I just watched the first 9 Friday the 13th films, and the killings are nowhere near as intense or brutal. Jason seems to kill in a way like a robot. Yeah. But I mean, there are 9 other probably Halloweens too. That's why, like, I haven't seen any of those, and so I'm, sort of focusing on these, these Halloweens. That's kind of been my focus. The killings in these 2 films are not bloodless. Much more graphic. Much more graphic. I like the original Halloween, or wildly over the top, like the Hatchet series. And then we've got Richard Redder. What software are you using to stream and format? We're using StreamYard.
Yep. StreamYard. Hey, Rich. So, Rich is a buddy of mine. I told him about tonight.
Okay. Hey, Rich, thanks for stopping by the show. Thanks to both of you for being here. So, where does that leave us? Michael becomes an adult, and hey, guess what? We have one more attempt at a surrogate father. And by now we realize that, and I don't think he should go unmentioned. Now Michael is an adult, and just to understand the scale here, we have Danny Trejo.
Yep.
And Danny Trejo was an orderly at the hospital who was kind to Michael, or as much as he could be, being an orderly, just telling him not to get down. And he gives some interesting advice to Michael, telling him to, just kind of live inside of his head. That there are no walls inside his head. And you get the impression that maybe he spent some time behind some walls. So you're thinking maybe he's an ex-con or something like that. But he recognizes that this is a child. And, you shouldn't be a scumbag to him. And he ends up spending, the next 15 years with Michael. And, there's a picture of Tyler Mane with his head dug down, probably denying himself a good another 4 inches. And you can see that, like, Danny Trejo, just barely comes up to his shoulder. Probably if Tyler Mane stood all the way up, it wouldn't happen.
Yeah, you can see Tyler's definitely walking hunched over. And he's got to be over 7 feet.
I think he's about 6'7", 6'8".
Oh, really?
Wow. 6'7", 6'8", I think. I'm pretty positive, but I think it, and like I said before during one of the tags, I think it's a brilliant casting maneuver to just, what a great expression of rage.
Yeah, well, we'll get into it especially when we talk H2. But I'll tell you what, Tyler's my favorite incarnation of Michael because of the rage and the intimidation factor. With just the size alone.
Yeah, it's not a joke when this guy comes at you. You
exactly.
He towers over you, and that's a recurring emphasis that Zombie talked about, and I assume it carries over into the first movie, but he talked about it in the second. Was that how brutal Tyler Mane actually was? During the filming, he would take particular things as challenges. So, like the stunt guy said, "Don't worry about it. You're really not going to hurt me, Tyler." I don't know. He must have brought some sort of, WCW attitude with him, and like he literally would just choke slam the shit out of people. Some of the women he would just grab by the neck, and he's just like ragdolling them all over the place.
Yeah, one perfect example is the scene with Ken Foree in the bathroom stall. When he's slamming him against that fucking stall, apparently there's an outtake because Tyler literally did break the stall slamming. I don't think it was Ken, but the stuntman so hard because Rob just said go, and I don't think Rob knew when to stop. Because he didn't want to miss anything.
Right.
Yeah, Tyler is just pun intended, a brutal force of nature. So he was perfect for Michael, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Ken Foree is not a small man. But you can see, it kind of starts out, sort of evenly matched because now he's escaped from the hospital. But after a while, he's just flinging him like a pillow. Yeah, it's just, you're like, oh my God, like this is completely different. Like when they pull into that truck stop and Tom Sawyer starts rolling through your speakers, you're like, oh shit, it's on. This guy has hit the streets,
Yeah, it's kind of a comical scene to begin with because Ken's sitting on the toilet reading like Swank magazine or something like that.
Talking about his Taco Deluxe that he's pumping out into the commode.
You just see Michael's dirty ass feet from walking however many miles he walked, and he's like, just let me pass the beast in peace. Yeah. And then Michael he's not stopping. He's hitting on that stall. He's like, I'm getting your clothes and I'm taking your life if I have to. And so he keeps knocking, and then he pulls out his little Rambo hunting knife.
Yeah, he pulls out a Bowie knife. Yeah.
Yeah, it all goes downhill from there.
So by the time we get to this stage, it's easy to forget the distinct possibility and probably the reality that Michael is a victim. As strange as that may sound, Michael is a victim here, and it's you kind of forget that because then it really starts to go sideways because he's headed back to town.
Yeah, and that's what I like is he does have this. I mean, eventually he's this unstoppable killing machine. He's a villain. He's the baddest of the bad. Because he's multiple murderer. But again, I think once it turns into, like, I guess you would say the second half of the movie. It's hard to remember that he came from this horrible upbringing. Because
the things he's doing become so horrible, and he's essentially just lashing out at innocent people. He's lashing out at like teenage girls.
Yep.
They're just in his way, and he
perfect way to say it. Yep.
He just wants to get to what he wants to get to. Some more comments here. I really enjoyed the making of Halloween that came with the Blu-ray. It's really in depth. Something? I just decided reading that comment of what we were talking about earlier. I need to get this on Blu-ray.
I'll tell you what. I have the 3-disc DVD, and the reason why it's 3 discs is it's like a re-release. You can find it cheap on Amazon now.
Yeah, right.
But they have the usual. They have the first disc is the feature film, second disc is like the bonus features, but the third disc is the documentary. It's like 4 hours long.
Is it really?
Of watching Rob make this. And I'll tell you what, as much as I love Rob, I would love to work for him, but I also wouldn't because he's such a perfectionist with his visions. Just one example, I'll keep it brief, is like it's in the scene in the cellar. Okay, it's in the scene of the cellar, when, probably when he first sees Laurie, and hands the picture of him.
Yeah.
And Rob is just so particular and anal retentive on the cobwebs. I don't want it like this. I want it like this, hanging like that. So the man has a vision and he sticks to it. And I gotta respect that, because just if he knows like his art direction, I mean, he got started on like Pee Wee's Playhouse, and stuff like that.
He was a PA, yeah.
And so just, and all of the illustrations he does for his albums, and all this stuff, like he's got a vision, and I respect the fact that he's like, nope, I want. And you think it's goofy, he's fucking complaining about cobwebs, under some stairs, but he knows what he wants in that shot. You know what I mean?
He's Rob Zombie, who the hell are we to say otherwise, and
exactly.
something, I think it's easy to be dismissive, because it's Rob Zombie, that he's not a smart man, and that he doesn't know what he's doing, like he's just, making slasher flicks. No, it's more than that.
And that's the problem in my opinion. Like I got into him for his music first, and then of course, as a fan of his music, you get into his films. And I think nowadays it's just people hate on Rob Zombie just because it's like the in thing to do. That's my take, because he remade Halloween and blah blah blah. But if you think about it, look into his backstory. The man grew up in Salem, Massachusetts, with his grandparents who ran the circus and stuff like that. He's college educated. He knows his stuff. People just don't take him seriously because his name is Rob Zombie.
Yeah, because he sings metal rock and roll,
Exactly. This man is super smart. He knows his shit, and like I said, he's creative with his art and all this and that. And he's got an amazing, like, just go Google 45-minute interviews with Rob Zombie on YouTube where he talks about growing up and stuff. It's really amazing stuff.
If you get a chance, see his podcast with Joe Rogan. It's about 2 hours. And it's one of his best. It's one of my favorite episodes with Rogan. And he did it right at the time that 3 from Hell. He was doing press for 3 from Hell. So he went on Rogan and just sat down for 2 hours, and they just, Rogan can talk to just about anybody. Not everybody's a fan, but I appreciate how he can, he can go most of the time for 2 hours, for 2 hours without talking about jujitsu or elk meat or some shit like that. But it was a good conversation all the same. It gets a little repetitive, but this was a good episode.
Yeah, and Rob's just so down to earth too. He's not yelling and screaming. He's not.
He's a regular guy.
Yeah, he's not. Rob Zombie, the metal guy. He's Robert. I don't know. Just sitting there and just talking, and that's what I love about him.
Yeah. We got Rich back in the comments. The best horror movie killers are victims. Yeah, you might be right, man. Rob. Yeah, okay. I think he's talking about Rob Zombie. He's very intricate and intellectual speaker. Yeah, very much.
Very much.
Great interview. Yeah, great interview with Rogan. It was great. So, Eric, if you get a chance, check that out.
I'll check it out.
So, to be pervy for just a second, I will say that the girls in this version of Halloween were cuter than the old 70s, retreads. But it was the 70s, and, you kind of got whatever you can get, and,
Although, you know what? PJ Souls, you can't knock PJ Souls. So that woman still looks good, in my opinion. But
wait, which one was she in the original?
See Anything You Like? She was the one that was...
she was not Annie.
Linda.
Linda. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm not going to argue with you there. But we've got a new Laurie Strode, played by Scout Taylor Compton. I thought she was pretty good. I thought she was...
It took me a little while to get used to this twist on her. Like, she wasn't like happy-go-lucky Laurie from 1978. This was 2007, I think it was.
Yeah,
version.
She was worldly.
She was worldly. She was, and again, with the other girls too, she had a mouth to her, but she did have unlike the other two, she still had that innocence to her that you believed, like from the Laurie from the original one. I thought she did pretty darn good, and she got better as she went on, the way this movie went, I think.
I think, like Jamie Lee Curtis, she was the one girl in the out of the three that did not have a boyfriend, so she's still sort of awkward that way. It seems a little bit. I thought it was really cool that it was Dee Wallace Stone, right? She was the mom, so that's horror royalty right there. So I definitely got to get the I got to get the copy with some audio commentary from Zombie to hear what he had to say about that. Because the second movie I just watched strictly with the audio commentary.
Okay.
Like I didn't watch any of I watched the movie, but just with that commentary. And I'd love to hear what he had to say about about having her in there. But they don't last long because Michael's hit the town. And one of my favorite scenes is Halloween when they go out. Laurie gets into the car with Annie, and Dee Wallace goes in the house, and Dad's smoking a cigarette or something like that, and all of a sudden he just gets bum rushed by a mountain.
Oh God, and what makes this real sad of a scene for me is sometimes Linda and Annie can seem over the top in this version. I mean, if you're comparing it, it's nice that we see some parents in this one other than just the sheriff, like we saw in the first one.
Sure.
I think Dee Wallace and whoever the actor that played her husband, Laurie's father, I think they had a good rapport. I thought they were very sweet with each other. I mean, we only see them together for 2 scenes. I love how once Laurie leaves, they're just sitting there watching the kids, and then like Dee Wallace says, you want to get lucky later? Sure. It's this cute little rapport they have. Yeah. She's gonna go freshen up. He's outside with a smoke, like you said. So you're like, oh, this is a loving couple. What the fuck's gonna happen? And then boom, he comes out of nowhere and takes out Dad, and then
he grabs him, and it's like one move: swipe, grab, throw him in the house, push yourself inside, slam the door, and then all of a sudden he's just in your living room.
Mm-hmm.
And like Dee Wallace is like lighting a fire or something. I forget what she's doing. She just turns around and hears the door slam, and suddenly her husband's getting flung across the room, and you've just got the mountain for all intents and purposes.
And see, that's why I love Tyler, him being cast, because the original movies eventually went the supernatural route, so that's why Michael had superhuman powers and shit like that. You can believe Tyler can toss these people like he does. So that's added to the realism and to how scary he is, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's a stroke of genius, actually. With your tag coming up, I think my favorite slasher may be going in that direction because, I think I said it once already, and I can't think of anybody else that I prefer. Strictly as a slasher. I may have seen some people who died in horror movies by getting slashed, but it's not really the same thing.
Right.
Yeah, this guy is he's a piece of work. So now from here, there's a little bit of Carpenter retread, with the babysitting and, I'm going to be with my boyfriend and lie to my parents and, do this kind of bullshit. And, Michael just starts going through everybody. It isn't until... Well, I think he gets Linda and then the boyfriend, the impaling. Then he gets to Annie.
Yeah.
And that's a tad that's brutal.
I mean, it's not just brutal just because it's just out of nowhere. It's ongoing.
Yeah. It doesn't end.
Danielle Harris, bless her heart, she was a trooper. I mean, she's already topless running around and she's getting thrown on the floor. Yeah. And here's the thing: it's the scene where she's in the kitchen, and like I said, she's topless and she's on the floor. Tyler grabs her foot.
I saw that.
And he drags her. She's not on a rug.
Right.
She's on the linoleum, and you hear the noise of the skin on there. I'm just like, Jesus Christ! And it just, and then I think when she's stabbed, it's off screen. Laurie finds her more injured, but I'm like, it's
cut up. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, she's just so vulnerable. And a lot of people say, Rob loves exploitation films from the 70s, and a lot of people think that this was just her getting naked for the sake of getting naked. I think it added to the vulnerability of when Laurie finds her. That's my opinion.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right, 100%. And I'm not exactly sure why she's still alive. Other than the fact that Michael just hasn't seemed to gotten around to it yet, or maybe he's just dismissive of it. She's down and she's not bothering me anymore. It's like that. It's like that grizzly bear in The Revenant. She's not moving anymore. He's not moving, so I could just leave him alone now. There's no more struggle. Let's not forget Brad Dourif.
Yes, Brad
Dourif is Sheriff Brackett. Who has a much more prominent role than in the Carpenter flick, I think, especially when it comes to the second movie. But I mean, the fact that it's Brad Dourif in 2007 says that Rob is investing you know, a lot into this particular role because it could be anybody.
Yeah, he could. I mean, you know, first off, you know, we got to give props to he got Danielle Harris, who was in parts 4 and 5 originally. She played Jamie Lloyd, so that was cool to see her back. You know, willing to be in a remake. But that's what I love about Rob. He's got his usual cast of characters. You know, Sherry, Sid Haig shows up. You know, Bill Moseley, all them, and then every now and then he'll pull someone out of like the 70s and 80s.
Like, Richard Jekyll was the school principal.
I know. And
Richard Jekyll.
You had you know Clint Howard and Udo Kier.
Udo Kier,
Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees was the guy that was the gun shop owner. But it was cool seeing Brad Dourif do something other than just being a psychopath. You know, he was the lawman and he cared for his job. He wanted to do his job. He cared for his daughter. It was cool seeing him in a different light.
And you know,
and that's what I loved.
And of all the surrogate fathers, he may have been the best one. I think he clearly was the best one, actually, you know, because he's the sheriff. It's his job to care for and protect everyone, you know, and he takes the job seriously. He seems like he's a decent man.
Now remember what you just said, the surrogate father, and it's his job to protect everyone when we get to H2, because that's a big deal.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. You know, the last 20 minutes are strictly the chase between Laurie Strode and Michael, in which, you know, I mean, I don't, you know, I'm not particularly inclined to get into that too much unless there was something you wanted to talk about. You know,
not really. It's pretty by the books.
Yeah, it's pretty by the book, and in the end, she just ends up shooting him in the head. But somehow,
Well, one thing I want to say is we'll talk about again in H2, but I love how Rob ends the film with Laurie covered in blood after she had just went through hell. She just shot Michael, and Rob intercuts her bloody face screaming with a home movie, you know, 30 millimeter or whatever it is, of young Michael holding young baby Laurie, Angel. And it's just, again, these little things that Rob comes up with, I think, the chaos mixed with the sweetness in the past, that I think is the perfect way to end this film.
Well, and you know, like you were just saying, I want to talk about that a bit more when we get into the second movie, because he talked about that a lot in the audio commentary.
Okay.
And especially on the way that things end. So we end the first movie, we move into the second movie, and you know, Sheriff Brackett finds Laurie. Sort of wandering the streets, gets the gun. You know, what happens from there? They get loaded up. Everybody gets loaded up in the ambulances. You know, she's pretty dinged up. I mean, that's a brutal scene. That hospital scene.
Oh man, not just her sewing up her face, removing the fingernails and stuff like that. It's
the
brutal.
Bone sticking out through her leg.
Yeah,
her fingers are broken. And Rob Zombie said that the man that was playing the doctor there was actually a doctor at the ER. Somehow they got him into the scene because they needed somebody who knew exactly what they were going to be doing in a trauma type situation.
Hey, that's smart.
So they actually got the doctor that worked trauma in the ER as part of that recovery scene. So he was doing things exactly, you know, how they would have been done, so on and so forth. But yeah, I mean, she just, and the fact that, you know, they weren't even sure what had happened to her. Was she a car accident? You know, what's the problem here? Like, nobody understands at the hospital, you know, exactly what it is she's been through.
Oh yeah.
And then
it was brutal. Like, just again, that scene is, like I said, we're going to give uber credit to Brad Dourif in this film, but just how he's calming Laurie down. You know, okay, honey, just give me the gun. You know, what happened, Laurie? Come with me. He's so comforting to her in the beginning of this, and I'm just like, okay, that's red flag number one, because you know. I mean, I saw this in theaters, and I didn't know who survived and who didn't, but I'm like, it's not going to end well, this relationship between Brackett and Laurie. Just with this scene alone, it's some good foreshadowing. At least I was able to pick up, and I'm like, it's such a good scene with just Brad.
Yeah. Yeah, he plays a good man.
Mm-hmm.
He plays a good man. Sheriff Brackett in the Carpenter movie is just kind of the sheriff, and I don't think we see him again. But he said that once Brad had seen the screening of the first movie, like I think he said Brad didn't initially understand what Rob wanted from him, but then when he saw the actual film put together, then he was glad to come back. Because he saw what Brad was trying to construct in terms of the Sheriff Brackett character, and he said he really took the role seriously. I guess he could have just tried to phone it in or whatever and that sort of thing, but he said he really understood that there was some investment here, and he wanted this to be done well. Now from there we go into these dream sequences.
Yeah, that was
in the hospital. She wakes up in the hospital, and of course, there's some horror. Well, first of all, I mean, I think there's a pause there where we start. There's a scene there with the paramedics. Rich Brake, who I love Rich Brake, man. I could watch Rich Brake play like a tree branch.
Okay, you said you haven't seen 31 yet?
No, not yet.
He is the main killer in 31.
Well, he's the Midnight Wolfman in 3 from Hell.
I know, and I loved him in 3 from Hell. He's fun in this.
Yeah,
he is amazing in 31, and I will stand by amazing in 31.
Okay. Maybe when this is over, I'll go see if it's on one of the streaming services I have. Maybe I can pick it up tonight or something.
Yeah.
You also had the very awesome Dayton Cali as the other paramedic, and I just thought that they were a great team.
Oh, they were fun. They were so much fun playing off of each other. Like you had Rich being like the vulgar asshole, and you had the other guy just like, I just want to go home type of thing.
Yeah.
And I just
love the old man, Yeah.
And it was great because Rich was talking about, she'd just been dead for like a half hour. You never know what we could do. And here's the thing: and this is just my opinion. I think he's not willing to go through with it. I think he's just talking about this to make the other guy disgusted, just to like poke at him and push his buttons. And just the way they act with each other.
Yeah, I don't think he was a real necrophiliac. I mean, I just think he was just a crass asshole, who, you do that kind of work. I imagine you probably get desensitized like really fast. So you're not going to be able to get out of bed. You're not going to be able to get out of bed in the morning. You know?
And they work together so well. Just he's like, Julie, no one's looking. I could just go back there. Oh, come on, shut the fuck up. That kind of good fun playing off of each other.
And then he starts playing into it.
Yeah.
Which leads to this car crash, and then I thought that was a really traumatic scene.
Yes.
And the death of Rich Brake in that movie. Like, oh, that's fucked up. And then Michael escapes.
Yeah, he just disappears, and again, it's because Tyler's so big. You see, like the ambulance just after he gets out of the back of it, just the shocks and everything.
Yeah.
It's just a great way to sell his size.
Yeah. It's just a monster. And Rob's like, well, how do we, convince people that he just got shot in the head and now he's up and moving a couple hours. He's like, well, it's Michael Myers, and he goes, that's the one time he just let it go.
And I always looked at it like this. Everyone's like, we don't see the bullet go into Michael's head at the end of the first movie. Laurie, she's at her wit's end. Maybe she just grazed him. How do we know she didn't hit the dirt with the bullet? We really don't know, because I don't know if the paramedics actually said he was shot in the head. So it's just how you want to look at it. That's how I looked at it. I looked at it. Maybe if she did shoot him, maybe the bullet grazed the side of his head.
I don't think it's to be taken, all that seriously. I think that there was suspension of disbelief for me. I didn't have a problem with it or anything like that. But once he escapes, then we go back into the hospital, and we've got these dream sequences with Laurie waking up. Michael appears at the hospital. And he's apparently there were in the director's cut. Did you see the director's cut for the second movie? Okay.
Yes, that's the one I watched.
So there's the scene where she's running from him in the hospital, and she gets to the bottom of the stairwell,
and she falls into the big dumpster
full of dead people. Yeah, apparently he's killed everyone in the hospital. You know?
Yeah. Again, Tyler is so much more brutal in this because poor Octavia Spencer.
Oh,
Jesus Christ!
Oh man!
I mean, when she walks out, her face is slashed, and she's quiet, and then she gives that ear-piercing scream.
Yeah.
And then again, we finally get back to Michael when he's taking her out. He's not just stabbing her. We see all the force, but he's grunting.
Yeah.
You know, he's fine. Like back when he was a child, you know, with the baseball bat and the stick. He's finally grunting. And again, Zombie didn't pull no punches with the close-ups of Octavia's face and everything. It was very brutal.
Yeah, I feel that we're missing a point here when we haven't talked about the white horse, the concept of the white horse, and its purity in terms of anger.
Yeah, I actually wrote it down because a lot of people don't understand the white horse. I think that's why a lot of people hate Halloween 2. Oh, well, there's a white unicorn in it. It makes no sense. The movie starts, and I actually wrote it down. It's from the Subconscious Psychosis of Dreams. And it said white horse, and it says it's linked to instinct, purity, and the drive of the physical body to release powerful and emotional forces like rage, with ensuing chaos and destruction. And that's what we've been talking about for almost an hour now. So if you look at it like that, I mean, I think a lot of people forgot about the quote in the very beginning of the movie. Yeah. It makes perfect sense. That's why it took a second viewing for me to enjoy this one as much as I did, because I didn't get the horse idea. So I went back and watched them. Like, it makes a lot of sense when you're looking at all this stuff inside Michael and what the horse is representing.
Yeah. And, people fail to understand also that this is a projection. This is what Michael sees in his mind.
Exactly.
We start to see Michael without a mask.
Love it.
Yeah, exactly. He's not just the shape. He's a person.
Mm-hmm.
He's a person. He sees his mother.
Mm-hmm.
And he sees himself still perhaps as this small child.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of what's driving him. And I think a lot of people didn't. Yeah, I think you're right. A lot of people just didn't understand what Rob Zombie was attempting to do there.
And the way I took it as is, a lot of people are like, oh, what, his mom's a ghost? I look at it, no. That's what he's seeing. And if you think about it now, remember, he went to go get Angel or in the first film.
Right.
And she rightfully doesn't understand who he is. So she stabs him. So if you think about this, now where we're at with H2, the only person that has ever treated him well was his mother.
Yeah.
And the last time he saw his mother before she killed herself he was at that age. So that's why he's seeing his mom and he's seeing his young self. That's how I've always interpreted it.
No, and I think that's pretty close to what Zombie was talking about in the audio commentary. He's sort of frozen in that sort of time. This is what he sees inside his head, in this need to bring the family together.
Mm-hmm.
That's, family is, kind of all that they have. And everyone else has kind of just used them.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else has used them. Everyone else has, hurt them. Everyone else has, just kind of exploited them. We start to get into that more and more in the second movie.
Mm-hmm.
By the time we start to get to Loomis in part 2.
Yep.
By the time we get to Loomis in part 2, he has become a douchebag.
And a lot of people hate it. I liked it. I liked this turn with Loomis because he finally let the fame get to him. And it was cool because it gave Malcolm more to work with. And again, 8 fucking movies, before the remake, Loomis is after Michael. Michael's evil. He's got to be stopped. Well, this is finally, it's a Dr. Loomis who we think Michael's dead. He's like, why not make some cash on this? And he's the uber douchebag because the book is released on Halloween at the book signing and this and that. And I really liked it. And of course we know it's so he can have that redemption moment at the end.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But I
his conscience finally catches up to him.
Mm-hmm. I just really liked it because A, it was something different. And B, it's kind of believable because I think I did read that Rob kind of based this on, I think it was Charles Manson's lawyer, who wrote a book about everything that happened and made a shit ton of money on it.
Yeah, he cashes out. And writing a book is one thing, because I think he had written a book in the first movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was his second book coming out in part.
Yeah, because he had written a book but it's that he just becomes an asshole to like everyone.
Mm-hmm.
He becomes he abuses the shit out of his publishing agent.
Oh, that poor girl.
He's just he's showing up at people's. What did he show up at Michael Myers' house?
Yeah, it was at a house like with a reporter and stuff like that. And then I don't know if you saw the director's cut. So in the director's cut with the book signing, when Linda's dad shows up, which I think is a great scene. So it just shows how he's changed, because he's making millions on 2 books about what Michael's done, right? So Linda's dad shows up, he thinks he's just an autograph hound. He hands him a picture of Linda. Do you recognize her? No. He doesn't even recognize what Linda looks like, because he just doesn't care. He's just there for the bucks. And then it's a great scene where Linda's dad pulls the gun out on him, and this is your fault type of thing. Very powerful. But it shows
which it really wasn't. I mean, but
yeah, but it just shows that Loomis, you're just like, I'm just here for the cash now. I don't remember who Linda was. She means nothing to me. I'm on my second book now.
Yeah, I've got mixed feelings. I've got mixed feelings about this new. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've got mixed feelings about this new Loomis. I don't have any problem with writing the book, but then he outs Laurie Strode.
Mm-hmm.
Without even speaking to them.
Right.
In the first movie, he's begging Brad Dourif for help.
Mm-hmm.
To believe him, to trust him, that this guy is in town, he's there to hurt people, very bad things are going to happen in your town tonight. But then he just completely disregards any, sense of their privacy, the confidentiality, to just, out somebody, things she didn't even know about herself.
Yeah, she didn't even know she was adopted to begin with.
No. And her, her adoptive parents are dead.
Mm-hmm.
She has, and it's just, it's a sledgehammer. It's a sledgehammer in your heart, man.
Like, I was watching this with my wife, and she likes bits and pieces of this one too. She's not a big fan of all the dream sequence stuff. But we're both like, wow, just imagine that. Laurie finds out reading a book that she just happened to buy off the shelf.
Yeah.
She finds out she's adopted, and then she finds out her brother is Michael Myers.
Yeah.
And then that's when she has this total mental breakdown when she's driving on the highway, and holy shit.
Well, by the time we get the director's cut, there's a difference between the theatrical cut and the director's cut. The director's cut takes place 2 years after. And I think the theatrical takes place 1.
Okay.
So this has been going on she's been decompensating for a long time. The Laurie Strode we meet in the second movie is not innocent anymore.
Mm-hmm.
She's acting out. She's abusing her prescription medications.
Mm-hmm.
She's becoming angrier and angrier all the time.
Yep.
She's now living with Sheriff Brackett and Annie.
Mm-hmm.
But that's her relationship with Annie is volatile, I think, because she feels guilty.
Yeah, she said there's a scene where when she's talking to her therapist. It was nice seeing that cameo for Margot Kidder as the therapist.
Yeah.
But when she's having her breakdown, I think it's when, I don't know if it's the one where she's trying to get more meds or not, but she says, because Margot asks, how's your relationship with Annie? And they go on, and she says, I'm mad at her because every time I look at her and see those scars, it's a constant reminder of what happened.
Yeah.
So, and that right there, it just shows why, she's so volatile towards Annie. And Annie is doing her best trying to keep this family together.
Yeah.
Or however you want to call it, this little dysfunctional family is what it is. Yeah. But she's trying her best to keep, she's babysitting dad, making sure he's eating healthy, and this and that. The whole scene where with the pizza and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
with the wheat crust and
I'll tell you what, I loved seeing her like, hey Dad, you want some egg whites? No, I'm gonna get a sticky bun. He's like, oh great, you need all that sugar. And then he says, yeah, I know.
exactly.
And then as he's walking out, she's like, make sure you get whole wheat crust. He's like, God damn it, Andy, why don't we just put the cheese on the cardboard? It'll taste better.
Exactly. Nobody wants to drop dead in perfect health, I mean, Jesus Christ, Let me live, for God's sake. I've made it this far, I don't want to live another 50 years eating cardboard. Jesus. Yeah. But you're right. I mean, they're doing their best to hold it together. Brackett's kind of beaten down. Because he's not a young man anymore.
No.
And he's doing his best to try to, with Malcolm McDowell, again, another failure as a surrogate father. Brackett, struggling.
Yeah.
To keep it together.
And you know what? I don't know if it was Margot Kidder who told Lori, or if one of her friends, or maybe it was even Annie, the whole day by day method. You can tell that Brackett himself is now taking it day by day.
Yeah.
And it's just, when you look at this, the way, like, they're all similar but different, all the three of these characters in that household, it's pretty tough stuff. They're all got their own problems from this one incident.
Yeah. Which began decades ago. I mean, Brackett, hides Lori as a child, as a baby, and then it comes back to bite him, and it comes back to bite his daughter. His daughter, her face is just all cut up.
Yep.
And that's a horrible. I mean, to be cut is one thing, but for a woman's face to be cut is just,
especially at that age.
Yeah. I mean, what was she, like 7? They were like 17, 18 or something like that when that happened, So yeah, I mean, Lori's definitely decompensating. The others are just trying to, put their finger in the dike, so to speak. Again, Loomis is sold out, and there's an interesting scene in there where Michael's moving back into town. And he sees the billboard. And his mother says, all these people are capitalizing, taking advantage of our pain. And that's just kind of been his whole life story.
And it's true even for when he gets to the strip club.
Yeah.
Because remember, the strip club is being promoted as the mother of Satan or something like that. This is where Mrs. Myers used to work, or whatever her name was, or whatever. And he's promoting that right there. She's
Michael Myers' mother worked here or something like that. Yeah. They got this tacky fucking photo of her, hanging up there. And I mean, he makes them suffer. Oh God, what's the name of the bouncer?
Jeff Phillips.
Yeah, Jeff Daniel Phillips.
Yeah, he's also in 31.
Yeah, and he's another one who just gets choked. Like that, they talked about how they used the stuntman, and the stuntman's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. You're not going to hurt me." And okay, and he just got slammed. I mean, it was like something out of WrestleMania. It was horrible. And I mean, and when he. When he finally, I think he stabs that stripper, right?
He smashes her face into a mirror repeatedly.
Oh yeah. And they said about 6 o'clock in the morning, she went home that night. She could barely walk. She had been so roughed up and bruised. I mean, Tyler Mane was just, he was in the role. Yeah, he was in the role, man. I mean, just rough stuff. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say that whole strip club scene was brutal just to begin with. I mean, we have, Jeff Daniel Phillips, he doesn't just get choke slammed. He has his face stomped with Michael's boot. Yeah. And then you have the I guess you'd say the owner or whatever. He has his face sliced, and his arm just snapped and everything. Michael, like I said, if you think he was brutal in the first one, he cliche or not, he definitely turns it up to 11 in this one with his brutality.
Hold on, we got some comments here. Oh, I'm a little neglectful here. And the director's cut of part 2 gives the Laurie character time to struggle with her PTSD. Yeah, 2 years have been going on.
Mm-hmm.
Clear PTSD, not getting any better. Yeah, just totally, getting angrier and decompensating and probably not doing any of the things she's supposed to be doing.
Right.
Because, yeah, that's maybe it's because she's so young and that's just where she is in her maturity level, that sort of thing. Halloween 2 is even darker and weirder than part 1. Michael's return truly feels like a nightmare. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does. Big time.
It does. Yeah, for everybody concerned. Hey, gents. Movie Massacre Show. Hey, gents, jumped in to say hi. Still at work. That sucks. I love both of Rob's Halloween movies. Yeah, man, they're great movies.
Yeah,
they're great movies.
Movie Massacre he's a buddy of mine. I told him about this, and he was excited because he's a big defender of Halloween 2 as well.
Okay, yeah. Well, I don't think we have any. Detractors. I'm not a detractor. I'm glad that I got a chance to watch the director's cut and to listen to the audio commentary with the special features. Now I have to catch on that with part 1 and that lame theatrical release that I have. Because I think I don't know if he got pushed by the studios to to edit some of these things out. He was very happy when he said this is the movie that I made. These director cuts are the movies that I made, not necessarily the theatrical release. He didn't really complain, at least in the second movie, about pressure from the studios, but we know that that's not anything unusual to happen where somebody's vision just gets completely, snipped at by the suits.
Yeah, that happened big time with both of the Halloween films. And I think that's why he says he doesn't really want to remake another horror film just because of the pressure, the frustration that could happen with the studios getting their hands in it,
Man, it's a ballsy, like you were saying in the beginning. I mean, it's a ballsy move taking on Halloween.
Yep.
But I mean, it goes to show that if you, care and put some time into it and you get, he wrote both screenplays. He produced it, he directed it. I mean, if you take the time, you can produce a quality flick. You don't necessarily need to go to part 10, although, that defeats the profit line, which is, ultimately, what everybody's really after. Man,
exactly.
Everybody's Loomis. Christ. Fucking Loomis. All right. So, eventually Michael hits town and, he gets at Annie again. And the look on her face when she sees him in the bathroom is just, I'm like, holy it's horrible. You feel her die.
And like it's great because it sounds bad me saying it's great because of what we're talking about. Because of the way Rob edited it. You don't see any of the attack.
No, you just hear it.
You hear it. And that's what I think is creative because you're imagining what's going on. I don't know if you hear Michael grunting or anything, but you do. You hear.
Oh yeah.
You just hear Annie screaming.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh great. And then you're like, okay, you just Laurie's gonna find her again. And now we're gonna be like, now what's she gonna look like?
And it's so horrible because she thinks that she's escaped him, and then 2 years later, he just shows up in your bathroom. Because he kills that one deputy that's been sent out by Brackett to
stand guard.
Stand guard just as a small measure or something.
See, I looked at it like this: I don't think the guy was standing guard because of Michael, because Michael's still dead in everybody's eyes, type of thing. I think because there's a line that he says to Brackett. He's like, "Come on, Chief, she kicked me in the nuts last year." Right. So I think he's standing guard. So since it's Halloween night, so no one just torments her to begin with. That's just how I looked at it. Because why else? Well, then again, he's been missing for 2 years. So it's just how you interpret it. I just interpret it as, it's Haddonfield. sometimes kids are assholes and they wanted to, torment this family on Halloween.
I had I'm going to go in the opposite direction with that. I had the impression that he was just playing it safe. He was hedging his bets in the off chance.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it mattered much.
Right.
And again, the issues that have occurred between Annie and Laurie are resolved instantly.
Mm-hmm.
When she sees what's happened to her friend, and she dies, and it's really horrible. Because everybody, I don't see how you could find the Annie character unlikable.
No, like I said, maybe in the first one, but then again, she was just a smart ass high schooler. Here, you feel for her because again, she had that scene where she finally let loose on Laurie. She's like, "I'm tired of your bullshit." Yeah. She says, "I'm reminded every time I look in the mirror." She raises her hair and she says, she says, "Look in my face too." Yeah. Type of thing. So you understand why she's so mad, and then when this happens, it just makes it more brutal because you become more attached to her in this one than in part one when she was just like some sex crazed teen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hold on. Movie Massacre's in here again. Her death for me is one of the most disturbed kills in horror. The energy created makes me feel horrible. Brad Dourif sells the hell out of it and made me feel terrible. Yeah, especially if you're watching that director's cut.
That's one thing I want to bring up. Especially that scene is for this director's cut, and thanks to your wife for making you sit down and watch that show.
Thank you, we appreciate you, man. Yeah, definitely.
But that director's cut, and here's why. For anyone who hasn't seen it, I'm sorry, I'm going to spoil it for you, but it's been 2009 or whatever.
Yeah.
So he gets the phone call, Sheriff 911 call. Okay, what's the big deal? It's your house. Boom, he bolts to the house. And he's running up the stairs, and then one cop stops him like halfway, and he just says, he grabs his fist. He's like, "Where is she?
Yeah.
You don't want to go up there. Where?" And he shoves him out of the way. And then he walks into that bathroom, and he grabs the side. Some people say it's cliche. I don't think it is at all. I just tell people, just sit down and just catch yourself in this moment. It's a man seeing his daughter. And this is what makes it more brutal. He does this little whimper, this cry, and then we see her body. And this is what I wanted to bring up. Rob loves using those old home movie type footage. He did it in Rejects. He does it in 31. He did it in Halloween. And what was really fucking smart is he took real home movie footage of a very young Danielle Harris.
Yeah, as a child.
And he edited into this scene over her dead body. And as as Brackett is looking at her because he's remembering his little girl.
Yeah.
And now he's seeing her. And it's just so impactful. If you don't feel, sad for him, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with you. And he doesn't overact with his tears and everything. No. And then that helps with the rage that we see him have later. It's just such a brutal scene. And that little added home video footage of like real Danielle Harris as a child footage just really hits it harder. And makes it more brutal for me.
It's rough stuff. It's rough stuff. I remember in the commentary, he said people didn't get it. He said people just didn't get it. He said people laughed. And he said he got the impression that people, one, didn't understand, but two, he said when something makes people uncomfortable, sometimes that makes them laugh. He said, it's a lot of people didn't understand what he was trying to do. But it's clearly what you and I saw in that, and I think, I'm not a parent. I'll say that real quick. But I think my understanding, having so many friends that are parents, they still see their children as,
I am a parent. My daughter's only 9, but I can I related to that. I don't want anything bad to happen to my kid. And then, Brackett failed her.
Yeah.
And then, like I told you to remember, he doesn't want to fail these children. He's this new surrogate father. And I do remember Rob said that's why he did that cut of Brackett breaking down. And then he threw in that cut of Laurie running away all alone through the woods. He failed one daughter. And then this other daughter, he's failing as well.
He's failed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's terrible.
It's heartbreaking.
Terrible. Yeah. Yeah. Because he's a good man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
really
he's been there's nothing that can be done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this just doesn't seem to, you know, yeah. Okay. So we finally get to, I mean, he takes Laurie.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, I think also we find out that things have fallen apart for Loomis.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people have kind of caught on to Loomis, and he's kind of, you know, become a bit of a laughing stock.
Yep.
There's that scene where he gets snapped on by Weird Al, which,
yep.
I mean, I don't think there's anything worse that could happen to a person than getting snapped on by late night television to Weird Al Yankovic. I mean, you know, that's about as bad as it gets. But I think he also starts to, like I said before, his conscience starts to catch up to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he realizes, you know, what a, you know, horrible shit he's become.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time that he realizes that somehow Michael is alive, and you know, he's got Laurie trapped in this shed. So, you know, we go to where, you know, we barely prevent Loomis from from Brackett from killing him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, when Brad Dourif gets in Malcolm McDowell's face.
Yeah, and he pulls that gun. Yeah,
if he honestly, I guarantee you, if Brackett wasn't in an area with all those witnesses, he would have pulled the trigger.
He said, Rob Zombie said he deliberately, for as much as he possibly could, he kept Malcolm McDowell and Brad Dourif apart.
Mm-hmm.
So there'd be as minimal amount of bonding as possible during the second movie 2 years later.
Wow. That makes sense.
That when they had that scene, there wasn't any, you know, sort of, you know, real life obstacles to overcome. He didn't have to sell it as much.
Yeah, because they're really good buddies. I do recommend the first movie. You watch the outtakes, because the outtakes there's like 10-15 minutes of just Malcolm McDowell hamming it up, and him and Brad Dourif are just having a blast during that scene when they're driving that police cruiser. So that makes sense. Like, they probably created a buddy chemistry with the first film, and then now that you say he kept them separate, you know, for those 2 years, that makes perfect sense, because, you know, if they're buddy after the first film, it would be tough, you know, pulling a gun on your buddy, you know, acting or not.
Yeah.
So it's a smart choice.
Yeah. And Brad, I mean, you know, I think Brad Dourif is just an extremely underrated performer.
Yes.
I was watching something. I was on YouTube a couple of weeks ago, and I was watching an interview with George C. Scott about the making of Exorcist 1990, Exorcist 3.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just talking about this guy. And go ahead. Do what you got to do.
We're good.
Okay, we won't take too much longer because we've been at it for a little while here.
No, it's okay.
So so we've got you know, and George C. Scott was saying, you know, what a good young fellow this. I don't even think he knew Brad Dourif's name, but he said the guy playing, you know, the killer. Yeah, he's a good young fellow, strong performer. You know, really good. You know, I was impressed. You know, did a great job, and I think, you know, his role as the Gemini killer may be his strongest performance.
Yeah, he was so good. I mean, he's known for Chucky, you know, being Chucky, and we all know your feelings on that character. We won't get into that, but
I'm looking for my shoe. Hold on a second.
Exactly.
It's right here, just in case.
Yeah.
Same shoe.
Like you say, he's so underrated and I think underappreciated. Like, look, when he started, he got his first role or first major role was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And he got nominated for an Oscar for that.
Yeah.
You know, people forget that because he's Chucky or he's in the Lord of the Rings movies or Urban Legend or whenever they need a horror. Hey, let's see what Brad Dourif's doing. See if he can work for 10 days on our movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Hell of a performer, and no exceptions here. Great performance. Very sad.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what happens at the end, I mean, they all die.
Yeah. And
Loomis,
it's a big...
Michael kills Loomis. Loomis goes in there to try to redeem himself.
Mm-hmm.
And it pretty much costs him his life. Hold on.
Sure.
Oh, wait, hold on. No. A massacre's here. Do you think it was a good ending to see Laurie in an institute? Would you have liked to have seen her in part 3? All right, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that.
Yep.
So they go into the shed. Loomis goes into the shed with Michael and Laurie. You know, it's a little weird because, you know, Sherry Moon, you're seeing inside Michael's mind. But long story short, I mean, what ends up happening is Michael drives Loomis through the wall. He knifes Loomis. Loomis is dead.
And he says the first thing he says, and now it's 17 years.
Die.
Yeah, that's the one word, and he says it to Loomis, unmasked. And that's what I like. He says it as Michael, not as the Shape.
Yeah. Die. That's the first, And then Michael gets shot. I mean, unquestionably, he's dead.
Yeah, they blow him away.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a hail of bullets. Just come and kill him, you know, without question. And then Laurie picks up the gun. And here's the thing for Movie Massacre. Laurie's dead. Laurie dies.
Yeah, he maybe he's seen the theatrical cut, because in the theatrical cut, she does not.
Okay.
So see, that's the problem. Like
in the director's cut, which you and I are sort of, I think, relating to. The police shoot Laurie because she tries to pick up the knife, and a trigger-happy cop just kills her.
Yep.
And you see, there is a scene at the end where it seems like she's in a white building that may or may not be a psychiatric hospital, and you're seeing Sherry Moon Zombie walk towards her with the white horse.
Yep.
And she has decompensated to the part now where, you know, her and Michael are almost having the same hallucination.
Yep.
But
all that rage.
What has essentially happened is that those are her last thoughts, according to Zombie, as she's dying.
Yeah, and it's a little too on the nose, but I liked it how you find out her birth name is Angel, and she's dying in an angel pose in that field.
Yeah, and it's a triangle. Loomis, Michael, and Laurie.
Yep.
And it's, you know, that's how it ends. It's a tragedy. Like everybody dies. The only person that makes it out of that is Sheriff Brackett. Yep. And you know,
he's all alone.
And he has to acknowledge his role as a failure because he failed to protect any of those girls. You know, in the first movie as the sheriff, and then, you know, in the second movie as a father. And it's a heartbreaking thing. I mean, you know, he said that he didn't make a movie about Michael Myers. He made movies about Laurie Strode.
And that's what we got. It's Laurie Strode with her PTSD and how it's affecting it's how part 1 has affected everybody.
Yeah.
In their own little different ways. And like the theatrical cut is, I mean, Loomis is killed differently. He's killed in the shed, and Michael is killed. Laurie actually stabs him in the head with the knife inside the shed. And then she exits the shed wearing the mask. And then she's shot.
I remember this.
And then she's shot, and then she is taken to the psych ward.
Okay.
I prefer, as sad as it is, I prefer this definitive director's cut ending.
Well, Rob Zombie clearly says, this is the movie I made. You know, this director's cut is the movie I made. And he said, now it's perfect. And I think 10 years later, I mean, maybe in 2019 or something, he said he's proud of these movies. And he should be.
He should.
He made some fantastic, aesthetic, very complex horror. And he took something that was not difficult to duplicate and made something completely original instead.
And that's what I liked, is like we had a little nod of the original Halloween 2 with the hospital stuff in the beginning. That's 20 minutes. The rest of it is all Rob's original vision. And I want to say this here to anyone who's watching or who's listening. If you've only seen, like, your only experience with Halloween 2 was seeing it in the theaters, give it another chance if you can find this director's cut. I think, because like I said, I had only seen it in the theaters, and I didn't enjoy it. And I didn't like the ending. Of course, I didn't understand the horse aspect, but then again, seeing it on Blu-ray, I could pause and actually read it. And then if you watch this director's cut and you just sit down from beginning to end, no distractions, no phone, no nothing like that, just watch it. I really think people can appreciate it more and realize that it really is a good film about tragedy, PTSD, family. It really is as dysfunctional, like I said, as Laurie and Annie and Brackett are. They are a family unit. Yeah. And it's just, the performances are so good, and then just like the little choices Rob makes are great.
Yeah, it's a bit of a naturalism story. These people are just crushed to earth by forces that they can't resist. And that's kind of how it ends, and that's the movie that Zombie wanted, and that's the movie we've been talking about for 90 minutes now. So we've talked a decent sized movie ourselves here.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on here, man. I hope we have a chance to do this again.
I'll say this, like I said, we've chatted on Twitter and stuff like that, like in between, our own little videos and stuff. And I was, how I was looking forward to this tonight, because not just shooting the shit with you, but knowing that you like both versions of both movies, H1 and H2, is like, finally I have someone else to talk about two films that everyone hates, it seems like, but me. So I had a blast, dude, and I would love to come back, just shoot the shit with you.
Yeah, we'll set it up again, and never be too distressed about the fact that people don't know what they're talking about. So it's not their fault, just
exactly.
You gotta take it in stride. Can you tell people where they might find your content?
Sure. If you're watching this, it's my name right there in front of me. Hey Internet, Eric here. That's my YouTube channel. Every now and then I throw up a video. But the main reason now I use the channel is for my podcast, Two Bearded Losers, and it's just me and my friend Alex. We're on a bit of a hiatus now, but every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Central Time, we try to go live on YouTube and just discuss films. We've discussed horror, comedy, sci-fi, this and that, and then we started this new concept now where we try, instead of just discussing one film, we discuss two, but they have to be connected somehow. Like we've done a body hopping episode, so we discussed The Thing and The Hidden, and
okay.
We've done just movies that everyone hates but us. So I picked the Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and he picked Jaws: The Revenge and stuff like that. And our next episode, when we come back, wait
a minute. He hated The Devil's Reject, but he likes Jaws: The Revenge.
Yeah, it's
okay. Yeah, all right, fine. Yeah, each his own.
Yeah, and then the next one, when we finally get back together, we decided. I figured it was baseball season, so I wanted to talk the original Bad News Bears, because it's a classic. So he's like, let's do Jackie Earle Haley night and do Total 180. So we're doing Bad News Bears and the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. So
yeah, why wouldn't you? I mean, yeah, sure. All right.
And we just look at it like
I saw the advertisement for that. I saw you tweet about that.
Yeah, it's more for the conversation, I guess, than the movies itself. And you can find that at like I said, every Saturday night, God willing, at 9 o'clock Central Time, and also twobeardedlosers.com. That'll directly take you to the video feed of like all of our past episodes. But you can also hear us anywhere like Spotify and Google and Apple Podcasts and stuff.
Okay, very cool. And this podcast, I used to have a new episode every Saturday, but now that I'm streaming, I'm going to be boosting those numbers, and probably putting 2, 3. I think Knight, he's doing 2 back-to-back tonight.
Mm-hmm.
He's got one at 7 and one at 8. I'm like, fuck, this guy's like cranking it out, but that's really cool.
I'll tell you what, I'm looking excited. I'm excited to see what you've got in store for the next couple streams. I've already seen.
Yeah, and more is on the way. I'm, trying to get this thing out in advance. I'll be getting your tag out on Sunday, so I'll be streaming for that. I'm going to stream for that, and then Monday I'm looking forward to that one with Green Room. Holy shit, that was a fucking movie.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so we're going to be going from there. Well, thank you again, brother.
Hey, it literally, it was my pleasure. You know me, I just like talking movies, and when someone comes to me and say, hey, you want to be on my show to talk movies, I'm like, if you think I'm good enough to be on your show to shoot the shit, I'm there. So it was my pleasure, man.
Absolutely, and let's do it again sooner rather than later. If you are seeing this on a replay, please don't hesitate to leave a comment or like, subscribe. It's always appreciated. All right, it's Friday night. I guess we're going to sign off from here, and thank you again for all your support. And talk to you soon.
Cheers.